It's time for us to take a journey down the rabbit hole that is the kettlebell swing. So we're going to start from the front view, mainly just to show you the feet. Notice that they are glued to the ground. I'm not rolling up on the outside of my feet too often. And my feet are wider than my hips. This gives us sufficient space to get that kettlebell through the legs. And I keep that kettlebell as tight to the groin as possible. All these things help us get into a good position to keep that bell within our center of mass. Now, from the side, you can see the proper setup and the way to execute the first swing. So when we teach this, we say we drop, lock, hike, and pop. Again, just to emphasize the importance of this, drop, lock, hike, and pop. So that lock allows them to generate some tension and maintain that through that back swing portion as they pike the hips back. But notice there's minimal bending of the knees as we go through the swing. So all the movements from the hip, we're stabilizing the heck out of that spine and driving those hips back towards the wall. So now you're going to see an example of what it looks like to do this wrong and to flex the knees too much and treat this as a quad dominant movement. So you see here, I'm basically squatting and that bell is going much further behind me and much lower away from my hips. This creates greater forces on the spine and is less safe. Here you want to tell them to bend the knees less and lean over more. Sometimes you even have to block their knees for a few reps with your hands so they can get an idea of what you mean. Or you can always use that good old hips to the wall behind you cue, which works for a lot of people. Now in this variation, or this problem, you're seeing it's a little subtle, but you can see I'm leaning back at the top. So this means my hips are coming through well, but then I'm arching into my lower back as I come up into this swing. My eyes are going up way too high. So for most people, I'll come up and block them on their back to stop them or tell them to reach their head to the ceiling to try to get tall, head to the ceiling. But sometimes you got to block them and stop them from leaning back too far. Now here, I'm overusing my shoulders. So this is a dead giveaway when you see that bell go higher than the chest, or you see the head poke forward like a chicken, or it looks like they're shrugging through their shoulders. The swing is done 99% from the hips. The arms are just guides, so they're like ropes with hooks on the end attached to the kettlebell, so they're not lifting anything. Sometimes if you give them a heavy kettlebell, it can help correct that, or you can just shove that bell down really hard with your hands, and it'll help teach them to hinge back and not overuse their shoulders. In this problem, I've got that bell going way too far down, away from my groin, which is going to create greater force on the back, and I'm allowing my gaze to go down and up. This can get people dizzy, and again, when that bell drops down from the groin area, it can create greater shear forces on the back, so we always want to keep it tight to the groin. Now, in this issue here, this is very subtle. I'm not hinging back far enough, and I'm stopping myself short right there. So I stopped too short there. I'm trying to keep my chest up. Although I'm hinging, I'm not going down far enough. This means I'm going to have to stop the movement directly with my spine as I get to the back of that swing. So you just want to get people pushing back further with their hips on that one. Now in this one, I'm not keeping my heels rooted to the ground. You'll see people do this. They'll get a little off balance sometimes. You just need to tell them to glue their heels to the ground and grab with the big toe. You'll see that one quite often because people want to jump and turn this into a vertical movement. But just tell them to glue their heels to the floor or just say push through your heels. So now in this version, this is a lot of shoulders again. I'm cutting it short on the way back, so I'm not going far enough back, but I'm also overusing those shoulders again. So there's a couple of different things going wrong here that we need to be aware of.